Hello. Hello. Anyone around here speak basketball?
Paging Bobby Webster.
This is Abby Silver.
Vision 6-9. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast. I am your host, Freddie Rivas, and who, sir, with the hot computer and the exhausted fan are you?
I'm the producer. My name is Matt Duncan, and yes, I'm finally on the last legs of my computer, so apologies for any terrible video that might transpire. Fred, how you doing?
I'm doing good. No apologies necessary. You are the best producer in the game. If you are one of the people that are sending Maddie's laptop, let's make sure it arrives safely. Okay. We are, Raptors / NBA podcast. We're with Raptors Republic. We are hardcore fans and performers and analysts. And we have all sorts on this podcast. Lots going on. Let's start with you, Ned. Kind of go straight to it. I will just say, I don't want to say the rumors were 100% wrong, but they are rumors for a reason. Masai and Bobby are not known to be super splashy around the deadline, and they were not. They traded a protected first-round pick. I think it was up to the 6th pick, 2 second-rounders, and Kem Birch for Jakob Poeltl, who's going to be an unrestricted free agent. We'll have lots of time to talk about the free agency. But yeah, if you are a trade deadline fan, if you are a draft fan, a free agency fan, I am so sorry, but you actually have to watch basketball for the next couple months. On-court stuff is here, but we do have to reflect on the deadline a little bit. Ned, I'll just sort of let you go in any direction you want to go. What's your overall evaluation? How do you feel about the deadline?
As always, trust in Masai. I mean, if the story going into it was that the Raptors are going to be sellers, and apparently did make it known that they would be willing to part with OG or Fred if it was the right deal, and clearly there wasn't the right deal. And Masai's he runs the team well. He's never done anything that puts the team in a bad position, wouldn't do anything that puts us in a bad position. The story I was reading was that Grizzlies, Pacers, other teams were offering like 3 number ones for OG, and apparently the feeling was he wanted more than that, or felt he could either get more in the offseason or at least the same in the offseason. He can't get worse than that. And in terms of where the team is, they're in a great position. I know they're in like 10th place, but when I look at the East, I feel like there's 4 at the top, and then the next like 6 or 7 teams, there's really not that wide of a gap between them, in my opinion, in terms of once you get past Celtics, Bucks, Sixers, and Cavs. Even though they're having sort of a down year, I don't see them as being completely out of position if they can make something happen in the off season. So they got cap space. They might lose Fred in the off season, but without getting anything in return. But that's really the only potential downside. And they picked up Jakob, and that's great. So maybe they make a push. Maybe they're first round, but I don't think there was any move that could be made that would push them into that upper echelon in the East. And none of the deals offered, I guess, really were that enticing. So I think they're at a fine position where they are standing pat and picking up Jakob.
Very, very fair points all around. I will say, I feel like, similar to the one of my big reference bases for when there was a lot of outside pressure on the Raptors is of course the Tampa year when we simply had to trade Kyle. Obviously did not, held off, got Precious and Dragic. There's a lot of outside pressure in this scenario, and I think we'll be hearing rumors of what exactly was offered, but we don't really know what was on the table per se. And I think it is important for fans to realize, when you hear 3 picks, you don't know what those picks are. You don't know what protections are. You don't know if those are 3 lottery picks, are those 3 Malakais. I think it's important to remember that the weight of those picks, if the rumors are true, Masai also wanted a significant player in return, which sounds like Masai. But again, dealing with a lot of rumors, I have a couple sort of opinions here, but I don't want to take too much air out of the subject before we go to Chelsea. So yeah, Chelsea, what's your take? Are you with Ned? Are you like, no, the Raptors totally botched this? Like, where are you at?
I think I'm not shocked about what they did. I think I've learned over the past couple of years of like being very invested in this team is to expect the exact opposite from Masai that like everybody thinks should happen.
Right.
Like I think back to like Scotty Barnes. Like I think that's like the telltale story of everybody thought he should pick Jalen Suggs and then he picked Scotty Barnes and it worked out better.
Yep.
So I've just kind of learned to not expect anything from him. Like I expect things from him, but I don't really ever expect him to do what people think he should.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, like the only moves that this team could have made at the current trade deadline were to like trade away the people and get things in return, but nothing that was going to impact us right now. I think if they were to make a trade, it would have been something that would have clearly like led us to a quote unquote tank. And I don't think Masai, as much as he kind of retracted his play in for what stance the other day, he's very anti-tank from what I hear and know about him. He always wants to compete. And I think it's important for the Raptors to make somewhat of a push this year, even if they don't make it very far. I think people are always like, what's the point of going into the playoffs if you're not going to make it past like the first or second round? But you think about this team where it's all young guys and it's all these like young players who deserve and should get those reps. And I personally think it would be very beneficial to do the play-in, to do maybe a first round of a play-in or of a playoff situation. So, I mean, I think there's still hope for a push. You think about last year where the Raptors at this point going into the All-Star break, it was kind of the same like wishy-washy, won't they? And then they ended up being like 5th seed in the East. And so I don't think it's like over yet. I think there's still a good chance of them making, if not an equal run to last year, hopefully something similar. So we'll see.
Yeah, great points. I think like I think there's a lot of opportunity to make a run. I think I'll also jump on your. I've been saying this all season, but the Raptors team is young. It's not as if we're not developing. Scotty, Precious, Koloko, Banton, Gary, and OG are young. I think this idea of let's surround Scotty with young players is a little bit, I don't know. It's a little bit sort of like idealistic in a way that's not, it's not seeing the forest for the trees. Like he is surrounded by young players. Do you want to surround him by even younger players? I think that's a different conversation. And, developing a franchise that way there's a lot of things that can go wrong. I'm not sure if the fans really, who want that actually want to be in a situation that's similar to Jalen Green or Cade Cunningham. Maybe they do, maybe a lot of folks are like, no, there's no way around being horrible for multiple years and punting on Pascal's prime, et cetera. And, I think there's a certain validity to that. But I really think that what interested me the most about what you said there was the plan for what. Now, I've said this before, but Masai is nothing if not an opportunistic person. And I think the play-in for what is one of the more misinterpreted moments in Masai's history. I really do think, he said play-in for what? but the context is we're in Tampa Bay. The whole team had COVID. We missed out on, obviously like Giannis, which led to missing out on Ibaka and Gasol, and bringing in Len and Baines and Kem, later in the year. And I think at that point it was sort of like this season, like sometimes you got to acknowledge it's a loss, but the asset building, even from that point, has, it's not like we're at this place where we have tons and tons of assets, but we have built up assets. We do have Koloko, we do have Precious, we do have Banton, even if you're like, well, Banton's not going to be a guy. So that to me, I think, him saying that is sort of like, yeah, whatever. But I kind of like that he's like, I think it would be interesting if we are in the play-in, right? Because people are back to him with that and be like, play in for what? And he'll be like, yeah, play in for what? Like, it's fun. We're going to do it.
I think there's like also the important fact, you did say it was like Tampa season, but like playing for what? They were in Tampa. They had no fans. They weren't making any money.
Right.
Like you think about the fact that if they did do the play-in this year, they would maybe be at home for one or two of the games, depending on how it goes for them.
Yep.
There's the opportunity to make money, which Masai is ultimately, it's probably a factor in his head. And that year they weren't doing that. There was no hype around it. Like, why would you want to go into a play-in when you are not at home and you have no support? Like, what was the point? So now I feel like there's more of a point. Plus, you have Scotty Barnes, you have Gary Trent Jr., you have Precious, who would like benefit from that situation. So it's a very different situation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think, I mean, I sort of understand the point, but I think a lot of it is about like jetpacking out of a, an insecure situation. Losing is really hard. And I think when your team's not living up to expectations, it's sort of like intellectually easier to say, hey, what if we just like didn't try? You know what I mean? It reminds me of like, we all do comedy here, of someone doing a set. And then, after the set, it doesn't go well, and they kind of blame the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
They come back and they're like, well, like, this is the reason. It's like, okay, sure. Or you can just take the L and try to do better. And to your point, I don't know why any Raptors fan wouldn't want to see Precious or Scotty in a high leverage situation. I'd love to see Scotty in a play-in. If the fourth quarter Scotty is real, what's Scotty in a play-in? He sprained his ankle in the first game of the playoffs last year. So and not to mention the other guys. Like I want to see a healthy Fred. I want to see a non-flu Gary. I think we're all sort of in the same camp. I was thinking someone might come in here with this is a disaster. It does seem like that's faded a bit. I think a lot of the Masai doubt often does that, right?
Well, I don't see what the disaster is exactly here. I mean, because OG still, like, if you want to make moves, you can still make them in the offseason, and there was no move this time that was gonna, like, what were people expecting?
Well, I think just to speak to other people's points, I think it was sort of about asset management, and there's this idea that losing your unrestricted players is a certainty. I think that's a big part of it, right? It's Gary is for sure gone. Fred's for sure gone. But, to me, that sounds a little bit similar, at least, to Masai's for sure gone. He's going to go to New York. Kyle is for sure gone. He won't do a sign and trade. And it's sort of like, it's a cynical approach, I think. But, we also have lost players to unrestricted free agency, right? Like I just mentioned, Serge and Mark, obviously Kawhi. So, I think there's examples both ways, but if you were someone who wanted a center, and that wasn't my main priority, I wanted shooters, but damn, it's been pretty nice already to have a center. That Utah game was painful as hell. But I think having someone like Poeltl, clearly, I think a lot of people assume it was all about rim protection, but just even the screens he sets, like it gives Fred more space to shoot. It gives the offense more of a sort of predictable flow, which I'm appreciating. Okay. Let me go first to you, Chelsea, on this one. And I mean, yeah, take this in any direction because it doesn't have to be that they're the best team afterwards. But in your opinion, what team won the NBA deadline?
I feel like I'm just doing the obvious basic girl answer, which is the Phoenix Suns.
Had to be said.
Had to be said. Someone had to say it, and I'm saying it. They got Kevin Durant. He's not a free agent at the end of the season.
Yeah.
I don't think he would risk doing another like trade me thing.
Yeah.
Although he might, who knows? But
Sure.
yeah, I just think that they were the ones who were able to go in there and get it done. And I also think it was impressive because it was like literally the day after their new owner started. And then he was like, yeah, I'm just going to go make this franchise altering trade. Cool.
Yeah.
So I thought that was like low key impressive. And I also think it was funny just to like pop in the WNBA into this. I think it was hilarious that he like recruited Brianna Stewart to New York and then just like
That was
quit,
amazing.
like 2 days later. I was like, thank you, Kevin Durant, for your service as a New York Liberty fan. I respect that. But yeah, so I do think the Phoenix Suns won. I think they were like at their peak like a couple years ago when they made the finals and then lost. And ever since they've just like not lived up to the hype. So they needed something. And I think Kevin Durant for everyone is that something. So I'm very curious to see how they go for the rest of the season. And they have, Devin Booker and Chris Paul and now Kevin Durant and the rest of them. And they kept DeAndre Ayton too, which is confusing and good for them. So I think they won.
Yeah, this is, I got some backup answers, but this is the answer, I think. Key point, KD is not a free agent. And, regardless of the Chris Paul timeline, Booker and Ayton have KD. Plus, they still have some depth. And they're the fourth in the West right now, which is, fairly wide open. But I think this puts them in a position, maybe not to catch the Grizzlies or the Suns, but definitely to make a run for home court. I think the Brooklyn saga was absolutely insane, and I really loved you shouting out Stewie because him tweeting at Stewie to come join the Liberty. He fully did the like Usher I'm leaving where I'm going, but I'm creating 2 super teams. Like, watch this. Meme. Sorry, I feel like that made me sound so old. He fully did the Usher meme.
He did.
But honestly, he was a part of creating 2 super teams, which is absolutely insane. And I think if you're Phoenix, you have Chris Paul, Booker, KD, Ayton, and you feel like you're, health providing good enough to make a run and potentially win the championship. So also, another thing I'll just add to what you're saying too is like that. Like, I just totally agree that new owner coming in and just going absolutely wild is something else.
Yeah.
Ned, who is your trade deadline winner?
Well, I mean, we've said it. The team that came out best in all of this is the Suns.
Yeah.
But since we've thrown that out there, I might also throw in all the other East contenders. Taking 2 superstars out of the you always have a puncher's chance with players like those, and they're not there no more.
Yeah.
So Sixers, Cavs, Celtics, and Bucks. I think you said it correctly that the Suns aren't necessarily immediately like a top, favorite, but they're near that tier now. It could happen for them. Generally, if you're making a move like this, like you weren't there, teams that are close, to winning generally don't make big moves like this. The only ones I can think of that paid off immediately were like the Pau Gasol to the Lakers that one year.
Right.
And then before that, way back in the 90s, like Clyde Drexler to the Rockets. Those are the ones that come to mind. So, you just hope to be in a better position. So, I'd say everyone in the East, the Suns, and the Lakers aren't contenders, but they certainly flipped around from a complete disaster to a team that, again, puncher's chance could make something happen. So, all of that.
I'm gonna have to reach deep here because the Lakers were my second pick. Again, I think that they are in 13th in the West, so it doesn't really seem like anything they do is going to be, should be rewarded that much. But despite what you think about, locker room stuff with like Russell, or if like why it didn't work in Minnesota, sort of thing, especially after all the Karl Anthony Towns fanfare. I do think that it was a known, anytime someone like there's a Westbrook situation where someone wants to leave, is like sort of on their way out, and you still manage to kind of like engineer a situation where you're potentially breathing some life into a scenario. I think that is a win. So yeah, I think I'm gonna agree with you both with the Suns and the Lakers. And then sort of a deep cut, I think that I will add here. I mean, I'm not going to say that I think Kyrie Irving is, not going to demand a trade or blow up the situation in Dallas, because I think that that's a very, very real thing. But I do think it is a win for Dallas in the sense of I don't think you get that trade done without the consent of Luka, or the approval of Luka. So I think you probably made Luka happy, even if it is for just a brief moment, and even if he does leave for nothing, et cetera, et cetera. And then the sort of the narrative around losing Brunson, and Dinwiddie not filling that role, and Luka not having help, etc., is for the very short, very short time being. I'm not saying that properly. For this very short moment in time is, you do kind of breathe some kind of life. We will see what happens, obviously, with Kyrie. In Dallas, I think we all know that literally everything is on the table. But yeah, if it's sort of calm for a little while, you do have Kyrie and Luka in a backcourt together. And I think Kyrie's better than Dinwiddie on the court. So that is my third answer, though, because I feel like both of your answers were better. And yeah, that does it for the pod. Thank you both so much for joining and getting silly and talking some ball, and dealing with this post deadline thing. We have one more Raptors game. This pod will put it out on the 15th. So we're not sure if we will yet again be humiliated by the Magic or not. But yeah, we're heading into All-Star, and shout out to Pascal, by the way, who did make the All-Star team because of these trades. I mean, I think he should have been there anyways. But I'll bring Matty D back in here. But first, let me go to you, Ned. What's up? How you doing? What do you want to plug? I know you got some shows coming out, right? Like Doomlands and Gary and the Demons, and I'm not sure what else.
Yeah, totally. If few shows that came out recently, if you have Apple TV and you got kids, check out Pinecone and Pony season 2. Worked on that one. Gary and his Demons season 2 just came out on Amazon Prime and will be coming out on Amazon Freevee in the States very soon. And look for Doomland season 2 coming to Roku sometime later in the year. Cheers.
Amazing. Very, very exciting. I was lucky enough to work on Doomland season 2 as well.
Oh, nice.
It's gonna be very funny, I think.
Yeah,
but,
totally.
Chelsea, what's up? I know you got a lot going on. Where I mean, we'll plug your socials, but yeah, like tell people where they can find you. What you want them to listen to. Also, you do shows too, so if there's any coming up that you want people to show up to in Toronto.
Yeah, I do. I have lots of stuff always coming up on Raptors HQ and writing wise that way, but I'm doing a bunch of shows at Second City coming up in the next 6 weeks. So if you want to come check out that, I post them on my socials so you can check them out. And I'm also doing a bunch of other improvised shows coming up as well. So if you're looking to get into improvised comedy in Toronto, you gotta come check us out.
Yeah. Hopefully I will be there. I've been I wanted to get out more, so I plan on doing that in the next couple months, and maybe we'll jam together, as the improvisers of the world say.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm just being so damn old right now. We'll jam together on an Usher meme. Maddie, what's up? What do you want to let people know? Sorry, I should also say to anyone that I met at the Raptors Republic trade deadline party, it was a great pleasure meeting you, and thank you for the compliments on the podcast. And it was a great night filled with panels, and really, really fun time. Hopefully Raptors Republic does another big event. And anyone also that I met at the Raptors Republic 3-on-3 tournament. My I can't jump anymore. My knees are old. I'm so sorry. But again, thank you for the compliments, and it's nice meeting folks who listen to this podcast IRL. But Maddie, what do you want to let people know about us, about life?
I would just say, if you saw our clips up on YouTube, head over to the podcatchers or raptorsrepublic.com to listen to the full episode. And thank you for rating, liking, subscribing, and commenting. Freddie loves to respond to it.
I'll do it. I'll respond.
Not me. But you can go to dunkspodcast.com. We do post the episodes there. And I think that's pretty much it. Just keep listening. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Thanks so much, everyone. Appreciate it. Matty D, if you feel like we're good to go, please just give me those words I love so much. Okay.
Okay.
Listen to full episodes of the Confederacy of Dunks only on the Rapcast.